All right, we're rolling. This is Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe. Let's get into it. And hey, what's the topic? How much of the outrage online, when you see the extremists, like on the left, it's still popular on a lot of sites to be leftist. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, if you believe something legitimately, hey, do what you want to say, what you want to say. But I just think a lot of it's all performative to make money. They're like, well, duh. Yeah, but like, really think about it for a second. You remember back during the religious right, how many people were like, yes, Jesus, blah, blah, blah. And then as the winds of change, they kind of went to the whatever the new thing is, popular thing. And I bring this up because I'll see these extreme cases like, Asmongold was showing these accounts of people that like want him dead and all this. Is like, hey, say whatever you want, but I do think some of these people belong either in jail or an institution. And I'd argue if they actually were getting thrown in jail for death threats and whatnot, people would stop it tomorrow. So it's performative and also a lot of anonymous accounts, And you'll see these accounts, and I often wonder how much of it might just be people on the right making people on the left. The most insane examples, just like with the left, people on the left pretending they're people on the right. Like when you go into like a social media that allows free speech, and there's like the most obnoxious, troll examples of like neo-Nazis or something like that, or fascists or something. I always think, okay, it could be legitimate, but it's probably someone on the left. See, this is where the fascists are. And why? Because maybe they want to get that particular website shut down. That's that social media site. I remember that with Minds. And by the way, they were actually those people were fun to fuck with because I gotta admit, they get riled up. But yeah, I think a lot of them are all fake. Yeah, I do. And the thing about the left is that you're rewarded if you're some type of weird fringe thing. The left rewards you for that. You're like, well, what do you mean? If I was a furry LGBT, blah blah blah, and I talked about that, and socialism is good, Republicans are bad, I'd be way more popular. I would. If I was a chick with boobs and I said all that shit, like, oh my God, I'm so cute, socialism's so great, yeah, I'd be way more popular. But the fact that I'm like a guy that's like, yeah, man, just go work hard, save your money, live as cheap as possible. There's cheap housing in the Midwest. Maybe get an RV or get a piece of land. Maybe remodel a house. The fact that I talk about normal common sense stuff, well, it's kind of boring, to be honest. Most people that get online, what they want to see is they want to see a circus. They want to see a clown show. So I'm not doing the jump through hoops performative. I'm not a black female conservative. I don't check some box that's like, ooh, outrage, But then when I see some, they're like, their material is really boring and childlike. And yet, because they're saying what the particular platform approves of for the most part, they're allowed to grow. Now, I don't doubt for a second that if they weren't getting paid for it, most of them would be doing something else with their time. If it wasn't for the fact that either they're living in their mom's basement or they get a crazy check from the government or, their baby mama's on Section 8, they'd be doing something better with the time. I just look at it and I'm like, and maybe it's just a way to bring in a few extra shekels per month, man. Like they go out there and stream and it's like, yeah, Trump is so bad. He's a dictator. Just like some of the people that get like, they're basically rage baiting Democrats. So, I mean, that topic itself, or America sucks. Meanwhile, they're living in America. What I think's funny are the ones that are like, people from other countries that complain about America while they're living off our welfare system. It's like, shut up. And it's funny. I like the idea of online anonymity to a certain point. But I did think it was interesting, was it Twitter or what site did it, where they basically identified where the tweet was coming from, what country it was coming from. And you see these like ultra pro-American blah, 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 or ultra pro-communist blah, blah, blah. And they're coming out of like Africa or India. And it's just a grift because there's money to be made from that. And like all this AI generated content where it's like they're taking like little bits of anime or movies, and then they play that little bit there, or they have like some sword fighting scene in a friggin' some crappy music on in the background, and then it's bot channels following bot channels in order to get views and views to get payment. And I just look at it and I'm like, there's nothing original about it, by the way. But just like in the same way, the bot channels are there to get money out of the system, YouTube, whatever. I think a lot of the people that are leftists, and by the way, as I've said many a times, it's all performative, because if you really believed it, you allowed homeless people to move into your house. Well, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you allowing illegals to move into your house? Well, we just get the government, translation, you want to take someone else's money and have someone else pay your bills. Your empathy, but paid on somebody else's time. Just saying. I don't buy it. I don't buy it when I see most of these people. There are some that probably drink the Kool-Aid and really, truly believe it, but for the most part, I think it's all just bullshit. So, that's just my thoughts. Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe. Peace.